Okay, let's do another pivot table. For this pivot table, I want to do sales by quarter by year. So what I need to do is select anywhere in my data, then select insert, and then select pivot table. Select the location. I'm going to make this L3 and then say OK. So again, we need quarter, we need year, and we need revenue. So as you can see, it's put all of the fields in values over here. What we would like is we would like the quarters to appear over here. So what we need to do is set quarters as a row. I'm going to select quarters and then drag that over into rows. Now we want the year as a column, so I need to take it from here and put it in columns. Now the pivot table is complete. I just quickly want to change the row label and the column label. And then lastly, just add a heading. So as you can see, if we look at this data so far, we have quarter 1, total sales for 2016, quarter 1, total sales for 2017. So if we wanted to find out what the sales for quarter 3 in 2016 were, you would see that information over here. Additionally, if we wanted to find out what the sales for September 2016 were, we could look over here. Now I want to do another pivot table. In this case, it's going to be sales by province by year. So I select anywhere on my data, then select insert, and then select pivot table. Select the location. This time it's going to be Q3, and then select OK. So to do sales by province by year, we would select revenue, province, and year. So as you can see, the way the data is set up now, it's got province as a row, which is correct, and then we just want the year to move into the column field. See how it will change when I drop this year field into columns. Now you can see, if you wanted to find out the sales for Western Cape during 2016, you could find that figure over here. Additionally, if you wanted to find out the sales for Limpopo 2017, you could find that here. Before we go on to the last pivot table for this example, let's just adjust the row labels and column labels. And lastly, let's give it a heading. Alright, so we've got sales by month, sales by quarter, and sales by province. Let's do one last pivot table based on this data, and that's going to be sales by year. It's the simplest of all the pivot tables so far. So I select anywhere on my data, then select insert, then select pivot table. Select the location. This is going to be V3, and then say OK. So for this one, we just need revenue and year. Bear in mind, it doesn't matter which order we select these. Pan over to the pivot table. Okay, so we want year 2016 and 2017 to appear as columns. So we're going to take the sum of year over here and drag it into columns. Perfect. So there you can see the total sales for 2016 and the total sales for 2017. We can change the column labels to year, and then give the pivot table a heading. Perfect. So these 4 pivot tables are going to be answering the questions that we asked earlier. Let's review those questions. So remember in topic 2, we discussed various questions that management may want answered via a pivot table. So the first question that they asked was which month has the highest sales. This was so management would know when to hire temporary staff to cope with the demand. We would use the sales by month to answer that question. They also would have asked which quarter has the highest sales. We would use sales by quarter pivot table. They also wanted to know which province had the highest sales, which we could use the sales by province. And then lastly, they would have wanted to know the sales by year, where we would use the sales by year pivot table. Bear in mind, if we have a look at sales by month, it's still a little bit tricky to identify quickly which months did really well and which months did really badly. In the next video, we'll be using charts to visually display the information on the pivot tables. Also, we'll be using conditional formatting to highlight certain important information. That way, we can make our pivot tables even more useful.